I never imagined I'd find myself locked in a battle with a homeowners association, honestly. It's the last thing I wanted after years of dodging that kind of mess. My name's Tom Harlan, a retired guy who spent 30 years in state agriculture enforcement, shaping food policy and cracking down on crop violations. A widower with 2 grandkids who can't get enough of my homemade cider. After all that, I just craved a quiet patch of land in Willow Creek where I could grow apples and let the world forget my name. I found a 5-acre lot on the edge of town, just outside the HOA's jurisdiction. A rundown piece of earth choked with weeds, rusted junk, and stray cats yowling in the underbrush. The soil was rich, the water table steady, and I saw potential where others saw ruin. So I rolled up my sleeves, cleared the mess, planted 40 apple trees, and nursed old irrigation pipes back to life. It was hard work, but it felt like therapy I didn't know I needed. For the first 2 years, it was heaven. The trees bloomed. Kids from the local elementary school came by with sketchbooks to draw bees and blossoms. And I built a simple roadside stand-nothing commercial. Just a wooden table with a sign. Take what you need. Pay what you want. Most folks left a few dollars in the jar. Some scribbled thank you notes. And once, a neighbor dropped off a jar of blueberry jam with a sweet message. Your apples. My berries fair trade. It was that kind of place. Or so I thought. A little community where no one pried into my past. I'd seen enough HOA horror stories, power trips, petty rules, overreach during my career. So I steered clear. Never attended their meetings. Never voted. I figured that was enough to keep me off their radar. Then she arrived. Linda Carver, blonde, all sharp angles, dressed like she was about to star in a reality show about suburban perfection. She moved into Willow Creek last spring, and I first noticed her strutting past my orchard every morning with that tiny white dog. Her eyes narrowed like my trees were a personal insult. I didn't think much of it at first. Some people don't like the earthy smell of compost or the sight of my weathered tractor. But then the letters started. Not from the county or town, but from the Willow Creek HOA. Addressed to resident in that smug, official tone. The first one was passive-aggressive. Your property's visual inconsistency concerns the community. I snorted, tossed it, and kept pruning. The next one hit harder. Commercial activity near HOA lines is prohibited. That stopped me cold. I knew my rights. My land was zoned agricultural since the 1960s, exempt from their rules. And a little stand with no employees or signage didn't even register as a business. I'd written those exemptions myself. But I also knew Linda wasn't done. She was just warming up. She showed up at my gate one humid afternoon, arms crossed, not stepping onto my gravel. That fruit stands an eyesore. Tom, she barked. It's dragging down property values. Take it down. I wiped sweat from my brow, adjusted my sun hat, and said, Morning, Linda. This land's been AG since before you moved in. I am just sharing apples, not running a store. Her lips tightened. This is a neighborhood, not a farm. We have standards, and we'll enforce them. I didn't rise to it, just tipped my hat and turned back to my crates. She lingered, clearly waiting for me to cower or argue. But I dealt with tougher than her. That was the spark. though I could feel the storm brewing in her silence. The escalation came fast. A week later, a thick envelope landed in my mailbox, stamped with the HOA's overdone crest. Inside, 6 pages of legal-sounding gibberish claimed I violated some adjacent land compliance rule and gave me 21 days to shut down or face a hearing. I laughed at a sad, tired sound because I'd seen this playbook before, intimidate with jargon. Hope the target doesn't know better. I did. I brewed a coffee, sat on my porch, and dug out my old Files County maps, grandfathered permits, state statutes I'd helped draft. My reply was dry and precise. My land was outside their jurisdiction, protected under Law 48. 2A for community produce sharing, and further interference would be harassment. I sent it off, half expecting silence. Instead, the flyers slid under my gate, stuffed in mailboxes screaming, "Strangers at the stand." And is our safety at risk? Safe from what? The kids giggling with their grandparents. The elderly couple reading under my Honeycrisp tree. Linda was weaving a narrative, turning me into a villain. And it stung when my neighbor Ellie, who used to buy apples for her pies, started avoiding me. The church bake sale near my lot canceled without a word. The warmth I'd built was fraying. Then came the camera's tiny motion sensors zip-tied to the HOA trail fence, pointed at my orchard, another on a lamppost angled at my drive. They called it wildlife tracking, but I wasn't fooled. I started to journal every letter, every flyer, every glare from Linda. A call to my old code enforcement buddy revealed she'd filed anonymous complaints about unregulated food sales and soil runoff endangering trails. Soil runoff from my tested, pristine land. I stayed steady, knowing she wanted a reaction to justify more. The first big clash hit one crisp October morning. I was stacking crates of Golden Delicious for a second-grade class visit, kids coming to pick apples and learn about bees. The school bus rolled up, lights flashing, when 2 cop cars pulled in behind, lights swirling. My stomach tightened, but I knew who'd called. Linda stood by the trail, smirking, phone in hand. An officer stepped out, hand near his belt. "Sir, we got a report of unlicensed sales involving minors. Mind if we talk?" I glanced at the kids' excited faces pressed to the windows, then at my apple bags, and said, "Sure, officer, but run my name first." He raised an eyebrow, scribbled it down. His partner tapped a tablet, then froze. "You're that Tom Harlan?" He whispered. "State AG enforcement." I nodded. 25 years. Director for 10. They stepped aside with me, away from Linda's eavesdropping scarf-adjusting act. Caller said unsafe operations. Contaminated soil. The lead officer said, almost sheepish. I handed over my binder maps. Lab tests. Exemptions under the Rural Education Use Act. They flipped through. Nodded. "You're clear, sir." "Sorry." Linda charged over, voice shrill. "You're letting him off. There are kids here." The officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, this land's not under your HOA. And Mr. Harlan wrote the laws you're citing. Her face went from red to white. Mouth agape. As the kid spilled out, laughing, and she stood powerless. She didn't back down. 2 weeks later, 2 younger cops showed up, citing ongoing food distribution under a county mandate. No warrant. No health inspector, just Linda's shadow filming from the trail. I stood firm, quoting their own rules, mentioning my county supervisor contact. They hesitated, handed me an unsigned citation, and left. Linda yelled, "He's poisoning us." I turned, voice low but firm. "Step on my land again, Linda, and it's a restraining order." I helped draft the Clean Soil Act that saved this valley. Her jaw dropped, and she stormed off, heels clicking. The shift began when Gus, an old-timer neighbor, brought a flyer from an HOA meeting, Linda calling me a rogue operative with government ties. I decided to act. At my first HOA meeting, I walked in with my old state jacket, binder in hand. Linda was mid-rant about unregulated eyesores when she saw me. "Oh, Tom, here to explain," she sneered. I took the mic. "Calm. Folks, I'm just growing apples. But since Linda's got you riled, let's talk facts." For 10 minutes, I laid out my career, the laws I wrote, and passed out deeds, statutes, a supervisor letter. The new president, Jake Torres, paled. "She said you were just a farmer," he muttered. "I am," I said, "but I know the rules better." The motion died, and Linda slunk out. She petitioned the county to rezone my land, but I countered with a letter from Dr. Sarah Klein, state AG head, and sent docs to officials. Then I filed a FOIA request. The emails back Linda plotting to bluff with contamination claims were damning. I gave them to reporter Ellie Voss, whose article, "The Orchard Rebellion," exploded online, drawing support and similar stories. The HOA voted her out, 5-1. The public hearing was the peak. The hall was packed: farmers, teachers, Pastor Mike with his Bible. I stood at the podium, saying, "This isn't about apples, it's about control turning neighbors against each other." I showed her emails, her lies. Linda's defense about order fell flat. The chairwoman ordered her to stop. Applause erupted, and a kid handed me a drawing labeled "Tom's Safe Place," hitting me hard. Linda sued the HOA for defamation, but it backfired. Her emails exposed her targeting others, like a daycare mom and a vet's forge. She was banned from county HOA roles, moved away, and rejected elsewhere. Willow Creek healed, neighbors brought pies. Kids played. I turned the orchard into a community trust, hosting cider nights and planting trees with volunteers. Even Jake. One night, with Rusty at my feet, I sipped cider under the stars, knowing Linda fought a farmer with roots she couldn't shake. But is she gone? Or waiting? When do you stand? When do you walk away? Comment. Share your thoughts.